I went too hard competing with my sworn enemy and suddenly dropped dead. After taking a stroll through the underworld, I realized I might have died a bit too soon. When I was sent back, I couldn't help but wonder, I've been dead for so long. Is my body even intact anymore? The underworld official's expression turned unreadable. You'll find out when you get back. And just like that, I was thrown back to the living world. The first thing I saw when I opened my eyes was the giant face of my sworn enemy, Jiang Zhui. In a panic, I raised my hand and slapped him right across the face. The guy I hit stared at me in shock for 3 seconds before suddenly pulling me into a tight hug. Is this a dream, or did that shaman really summon you back? I gritted my teeth. Get off! Your sister's still alive and kicking! Jiang Zhui froze for a second, but his arms around my waist only tightened. Oh, I don't believe you. Kiss me and then I'll believe it. I died, but not completely. Even though my soul had wandered the underworld, technically speaking, I wasn't fully dead. Well, it's our mistake. We'll give you a chance to fix it, they said. My eyes lit up instantly. Does that mean I get to experience someone else's life? I liked my own body just fine, but if I had the chance to live as a rich heiress, that wouldn't be half bad, right? The king of the underworld shook his head seriously. Either we send you back, or you stay here until your real death date comes, and then you'll be reincarnated. Sometimes you're so speechless you can only laugh. The reason for all this wasn't even that dramatic. I just overworked myself competing with Jiang Zhui and had a stroke in the office late at night. Naturally, I thought I died on the spot. But turns out it was because the black and white impermanence duo were sloppy at their job and grabbed the wrong soul. So now I was stuck in this mess, unable to move forward or back. How about staying in the underworld? I'll find you a nice job, earn some good karma, and in your next life, you'll be reborn into a good family. I rejected the king of the underworld's offer without a second thought. Work my butt off down here? I'd rather go back to the living world. At least there, I'd still have Jiang Zhui, someone I'd never get tired of competing with, even if it killed me. But how many days have I been dead? With how fast they handle things up there, I'm probably already cremated by now, right? I wasn't just overthinking. These days, everything's about speed and efficiency. Someone like me, dropping dead out of nowhere, would they really keep my body around for days before cremation? Seeing how insistent I was on going back, the king of the underworld waved his hand, ordering black and white impermanence to escort me. On the way, my questions still went unanswered. It wasn't until I appeared in the familiar city. But something was off. We weren't heading to my house. Instead, they took a turn down a road I knew all too well but absolutely despised. Wait a sec, honored ones. This isn't the way to my house or my company. You'll understand when we get there. Great. Short and to the point, as always. If only you guys were a bit more careful with your work, I'd be a lot happier. I watched helplessly as black and white impermanence dragged me straight to the house of my sworn enemy, Jiang Zhui. They flew me right up to his bedroom window. Speaking of how this all started, it's all because of Jiang Zhui. Though we grew up together, the whole childhood sweethearts trope never applied to us. Wherever we were, there'd be fighting or competing to the death. If he got first place today, I'd make sure to take it back tomorrow. In short, there was never a peaceful day between us. Anywhere. From elementary school to high school, then college, and now even at work. This time, I stayed up late just to beat him to a project. Who would have thought it'd turn out like this? Talk about bad luck. I'd probably choke on water if I drank any right now. What are we doing here? Don't tell me you're leaving my body here. You've definitely got the wrong person. Me and him are sworn enemies. Forget keeping my body. Once he hears I'm dead, he'd probably throw a party and set off fireworks. Black and white impermanence exchanged a glance, and then I got a swift smack on the head. You talk too much. The world's gone mad. I need to file a complaint with the king of the underworld. If it weren't for their screw-up, would I even be in this ghostly mess? But before I could accuse them, I suddenly felt an immense force. It yanked me straight through the window and inside. After that, I don't remember what happened next. I don't even recall when I returned to my body. All I know is, the next morning, when I groggily opened my eyes, I was met with a handsome face. My entire body froze. Can someone tell me, why am I in Jiang Zhui's bed? And sharing a blanket with him, no less. On top of that, his whole body was pressing down on me. This position, it was straight out of a lover's playbook. How could something like this happen between me and him? Did our dynamic suddenly change or something? No, that's not right. Hadn't I died before this? Even if I came back to life, even if I wasn't cremated, I should at least be in a funeral home or a coffin. No matter where I ended up, it absolutely shouldn't be Jiang Zhui's bed. My mind raced through every possibility, but I shot them all down. Until the person in front of me fluttered his eyelashes and opened his eyes right in front of me. I hadn't even reacted yet. And Jiang Zhui, acting like nothing was wrong, leaned in closer. Then he kissed me right on the lips. What the hell? Buddy, what's your deal? Damn it, why'd you kiss me out of nowhere? Thankfully, Jiang Zhui didn't go for a deep kiss, just a light peck. But for someone like me, who's never even dated since the day I was born, that was enough to make my brain completely shut down. You finally came to see me in my dreams. You didn't show up for your first 7 days. I thought you'd really forgotten me. After the kiss, Jiang Zhui wrapped himself around me, nuzzling into the crook of my neck like a clingy lover. His voice, fresh from sleep, was low and husky with a magnetic charm. I finally understood why all those girls went crazy over his voice. That deep tone, who wouldn't fall for it? But that doesn't mean I'm letting him off the hook. I immediately shoved Jiang Zhui back hard. Get the hell off me! I'm not dead yet! The push made Jiang Zhui stumble, nearly falling off the bed, but he managed to catch himself. His eyes, though, were filled with disbelief as he stared at me. You're alive? Did that shaman really summon your soul back? What the hell is this about a shaman summoning my soul? I came back on my own. I was never dead to begin with. This has nothing to do with your shaman. I thought he'd snap out of it after hearing that. But nope, he just quietly scanned me up and down with those flirty eyes, his gaze so intense it felt like I wasn't wearing any clothes. I don't believe you. Kiss me again. As he said that, he lunged at me. My eyes widened, and I froze for 3 seconds. 3 seconds later, a loud thud echoed through the room. Jiang Zhui was sprawled on the floor. I wrapped the blanket around myself tightly, sitting on the bed and looking down at him with disdain. Dream on, you filthy creep. I'm alive again, but the place I woke up in doesn't seem quite right. No one wants to open their eyes and find themselves in their sworn enemy's bed. This feeling is worse than dying out of nowhere. Right now, I'm wearing Jiang Zhui's clothes, sitting on his couch. He's sitting across from me, holding an ice pack to his forehead. Yeah, that's because I kicked him off the bed earlier, and he hit his head on the table. But he deserved it. Who told him to act like a creep out of nowhere? I wasn't trying to be a creep. I just wanted to check it was really you. I let out a cold scoff. And what's the result? Jiang Zhui winced in pain, but kept a straight face, nodding firmly. I've got my result. Only the real you would react like that. So, conclusion, you're definitely Ji Fenglin. Did that even need a conclusion? Isn't it obvious? I crossed my arms, staring at him, emphasizing every word. Now explain, why am I in your bed? I mean, in your house? I almost slipped up there. That day, you were working late. I happened to swing by the office to grab something, and when I came back, I saw you passed out at your desk. I thought you were sick, so I brought you to my place. Who would have thought you were actually dead? Jiang Zhui's tone was eerily calm, as if my death meant less to him than seeing a stray puppy on the street. Really? No surprise there. He's been my enemy for years. So you didn't notify my family? Jiang Zhui set the ice pack down and looked up at me. Those usually lazy, flirty eyes now carried a hint of coldness. I didn't have the chance. I figured if I couldn't save you, then I'd tell your parents. I was at a loss for words. No matter how you look at it, Jiang Zhui's actions were beyond bizarre. Who brings a dead body back to their house and puts it in their bed? And he even called a shaman. I muttered, "Since when did you start believing in superstition?" But deep down, I felt a bit grateful. If it weren't for him, I probably wouldn't have made it back to the living world, even if I wanted to. I don't believe in it, Jiang Zhui said calmly, looking at me. So how do you explain coming back from the dead? Well, my situation might be harder to explain than his. But at this point, I had no reason to hide anything. He didn't even flinch seeing someone come back from the dead right in front of him. Sure enough, after I recounted my entire absurd ordeal, Jiang Zhui's expression didn't change one bit. In fact, I noticed him let out a subtle sigh of relief. Anyway, that's how it happened. Now that I'm alive again, I'll head back home. I stood up, ready to leave immediately, mainly because I felt something was seriously off with Jiang Zhui. No matter his reasoning, bringing me to his house without telling anyone was already too strange. So, better to get out while I still could. The result? The moment I stood up and headed for the door, I fainted spectacularly. Well, not exactly fainted. More like my soul left my body again. What the hell is this? Again? Jiang Zhui rushed over immediately. He looked in shock at me floating in midair, then down at my body sprawled on the floor. I glared at him, yelling in frustration. What are you staring at? Hurry up and help me up. And so, once again, I ended up in Jiang Zhui's bed. All I could do was wait until nightfall for black and white impermanence to come and explain this mess. It's probably some kind of bond tying you two together. You can't be too far from Mr. Jiang for too long, they said. And if I am? White impermanence pointed at my body on the bed. That happens. Your soul leaves your body again. If this happens too many times, you won't be able to return, and then you'll have no choice but to come work for us in the underworld. Great. Just fantastic. After seeing black and white impermanence off, I turned to look at Jiang Zhui. He was standing in the corner of the room, grinning ear to ear, unable to hide his delight. I let out a cold huff. You're pretty pleased with yourself, huh? Now I'm stuck clinging to you. I sat up from the bed, but my body still felt a bit out of my control. So weird, I wasn't away from my body for that long, so why is it like this now? Jiang Zhui walked over, pulling me up with one hand, a smug smirk tugging at his lips. Did I say anything? Don't go accusing me. I really didn't want to stay, but I had no choice. But sleep in the same bed as him? No way in hell. So I ransacked his house, gathering every blanket and sheet I could find. While I'm staying here to recover, you sleep in your bed, and I'll sleep on the floor. Jiang Zhui flopped onto his bed casually, his tone completely natural. Of course I'm sleeping in my bed. No way I'm giving it up for you. Ha! What a jerk. So annoying. I'd rather they'd cremated me and been done with it. I thought my recovery time at Jiang Zhui's place would go smoothly. The result? The very first night, something happened. The next morning, I opened my eyes to a familiar face right in front of me. I almost thought I was still dreaming, but no, this jerk somehow ended up crawling onto the floor to sleep with me. I couldn't even say anything to him. So the next night, I swapped places with him. He slept on the floor, and I took the bed. Jiang Zhui didn't say a word, obediently grabbing his pillow and blanket to settle on the floor. I naively thought I'd finally get a good night's sleep. But what I never could have expected was Jiang Zhui sleepwalks. In the middle of the night, he got up to use the bathroom. The noise wasn't loud, but it still woke me up. I figured I'd wait for him to come back and then go back to sleep. But who would have thought? When he returned, he climbed straight into my bed, lying right next to me. He even stole half my blanket. I tried to yank it back, but couldn't, so I just lay there, wide-eyed until morning. The next morning, he yawned, stretching lazily. Oh, probably just a habit. I sleep in my bed every day, after all. I was furious, but helpless. But when I saw he'd already made breakfast for me, fine, I'll let it slide. I munched on my toast, letting out a sigh. All right, you sleep in your bed then. I'll take the floor. Jiang Zhui set a glass of fresh juice in front of me, a teasing smirk playing on his lips. Ji Fenglin, do you secretly like me or something? No way in hell. Then why are you scared to sleep in the same bed as me? Are you afraid you'll do something to me in the middle of the night? People really can't handle being provoked. If I'd known to hold back a little, I wouldn't have ended up sharing a bed with Jiang Zhui. Even though we had separate blankets before going to sleep, he still had the nerve to tease me. Sleep tight. Be good tonight. Don't try anything with me. I really wanted to punch him dead on the spot. Same to you. Back when we were kids, we did share a bed. But after I realized how things were, I tried my best to avoid any intimate contact with him. He's a guy, after all. Better to keep some boundaries. I finally fell asleep in the middle of the night, but when I woke up, I found Jiang Zhui had somehow wormed his way into my blanket. Seeing me awake, he flashed a bright smile. "Morning!" He acted like it was nothing, but my whole body stiffened. Because, "You jerk, you're poking me! You're still mad? Isn't this just a normal physical reaction? Don't tell me the star biology student doesn't know that." My ears turned bright red. There are times I really want to shove a dictionary into Jiang Zhui's head so he'd learn what embarrassment means. "Shut up." But not only did he not shut up, he sat down right beside me. I quickly changed the subject, worried he'd keep running his mouth. "When can I go back to work?" "You're that eager to get back?" "Of course. Did you steal my project or not? I'll let this one slide since it was my fault. But the next one, I'm not letting you have it." For some reason, Jiang Zhui's expression suddenly darkened. He stood up abruptly, looking down at me. His gaze, it even carried a hint of coldness. A few days. Then he turned and left. What's he mad about now? Sure enough, being around Jiang Zhui sped up my recovery. Now I could stay away from him for short periods, just not for too long. So I immediately put going back to work on my schedule. This time, Jiang Zhui didn't stop me. "But, are you insane? Why'd you move your office right next to mine?" I just returned to work after my leave, and he immediately requested to move his office right beside mine. Everyone knew we couldn't stand each other. Now what? No amount of explaining would clear this up. And yet, this guy was calmly packing up his stuff. "My office needs renovations, so I'll be working over here for a while. What's the problem? Besides, have you forgotten you can't be too far from me?" I froze. I almost forgot about that. But did we really need to be in the same office all day? I just needed to stop by him occasionally. Did we have to be glued to each other like this? Jiang Zhui, though, was clearly determined. He straight up kicked me out. The moment I stepped out of his office, I felt the strange looks from my coworkers, but I could only pretend nothing was wrong. Until the rumors reached my ears. I immediately logged into my burner account and joined a chat group that didn't include me or Jiang Zhui. They're dating, right? They're totally dating. Definitely. They go to work together, leave together, even eat lunch together. If they're not dating, then what are they? Ever since Manager G came back from her leave, I knew something was up between them. I was right. Weren't they enemies? Haven't you heard the saying? Your enemy is your best spouse. You've got a lot to learn. I rubbed my forehead and left the chat. They're really going overboard with this. Right then, Jiang Zhui pushed the door open. He turned to close it behind him. "Don't close it. Leave the door open." Jiang Zhui shot me a confused look. "Nope, I'm closing it." Pointless. "What are you doing here?" "Just checking on you. How have you been lately?" "Fine, I guess. I can stay away from you for longer now without my soul popping out. What's up?" "I've got a dinner to attend in a few days. Can you get home on your own?" I gave Jiang Zhui a surprised glance. "I'm not a kid. I can find my way home." This time, he didn't argue with me. Instead, he reached out and ruffled my hair. Before I could dodge, he pulled his hand back. Who knows? What if someone kidnaps you on the way? Who would I go to for ransom? Staring into Jiang Zui's flirty eyes, I suddenly felt flustered. My mind flashed back to the gossip from my coworkers. I nearly choked on my own spit, my face flushing as I looked away from him. Got it. Jiang Zhui didn't say anything more and left, but I couldn't calm down. The breeze outside rustled the thin curtains in the office, brushing against the potted plants in the corner. That faint sound felt like it was scratching at my heart. Could it be? Have I actually fallen for this jerk, Jiang Zhui? Once a sliver of doubt creeps into your heart, it only grows with time. The only way to make it disappear is to find the answer. Right then, I glanced at Jiang Zhui, lying next to my pillow. In that brief moment, I truly felt my heart flutter. I sat up, took a sip of water, but when I lay back down, I accidentally choked. Jiang Zhui, who'd been fast asleep, instinctively reached out to pat my back. He mumbled groggily, "Ji Fenglin, can you be a little more careful? Take better care of yourself." After I steadied my breathing, he pulled his hand back and fell back asleep. I pulled the blanket up, covering half my face. Thinking back to the past, honestly, there wasn't much innocence between me and him. After all, a lot of our interactions were basically couple behavior, but I never felt this way before. Could it be dying once made me realize some hidden truth? Maybe. It really did. Because after I dropped dead, aside from worrying about how my parents would cope, I thought about Jiang Zhui. After fighting with him for so many years, I left first. I wondered if he'd be sad. Once I understood my feelings, I started thinking of ways to figure out Jiang Zhui's intentions. Christmas was coming up. I decided to ask him out for a meal. The problem was, I usually didn't care much about food. Anything edible was fine as long as it filled my stomach. I asked friends for some good restaurant recommendations, but I was worried I'd pick a bad one. So, while Jiang Zhui was out for dinner, I snuck out to test a few places first. I even set an alarm on my phone before leaving, just in case I passed out outside. But I didn't expect that at the last restaurant, I'd run into Jiang Zhui. Sitting across from him was a delicate-looking girl. They were eating and chatting happily, the atmosphere warm and cozy. My rational side told me, "You should leave right now." But my body didn't listen to reason. I sat down at the table next to them, just in time to hear the girl bring up the rumors about me and Jiang Zhui. It's just some nonsense gossip at the company. There's nothing shady between me and Manager G. I'll warn them when I get back. Tell them to stop spreading rumors. Oh, I thought Manager Jiang would be into someone like Manager G. In that moment, my breathing slowed. I didn't want to miss a single word from Jiang Zhui. But his response, it disappointed me. Like her, she and I have been enemies since we were born. If we're not fighting to the death, who'd back down first? Right. In his mind, I'd always just be a rival. No exceptions. After I got home, I tidied up Jiang Zhui's bedroom. I grabbed my blanket and moved to the couch. When he came back, I casually suggested we sleep separately. He still smelled faintly of red wine. He frowned at me. Why all of a sudden? If you don't agree, I'll go back to my place right now. Jiang Zhui's expression darkened as he stared at me, trying to see if I was joking. Seeing I was serious, his face fell completely. Ji Fenglin, I swear you're the only one in the world who can threaten me like this. Fine, separate then. With that, Jiang Zhui stormed back to his room. I was exhausted that day, so I pulled the blanket over me and got ready to sleep. But before I could close my eyes, the bedroom door opened again. Jiang Zhui walked out with his pillow and tossed it onto the couch. You sleep in the room. I pursed my lips, about to say it wasn't necessary since this was his house. Pushing the homeowner onto the couch, I couldn't do that. But before I could speak, he'd already plopped onto the couch. At nearly 6'3", he couldn't even stretch his legs out on the couch. I sighed softly. You really don't have to. I like sleeping on the couch. If you don't want the bed, then sleep on the floor. Hearing his childish tone, I couldn't help but smile faintly. Not sleep in a big bed and lie on the floor instead? Who'd be that stupid? Of course, I'm not saying Jiang Zui's the stupid one here. Then, don't sneak into the bedroom tonight. Remembering how he got up to use the bathroom last time and ended up climbing into my bed, I couldn't help but remind him. But who would have thought my words seemed to hit a nerve? Ji Fenglin, I'm not that kind of person. I didn't say he was any kind of person. Look at this temper. One poke and he explodes. All right, you're not. I grabbed my pillow and headed back to the room. After a couple of steps, I heard Jiang Zhui muttering behind me. If you're worried, lock the door. Funny enough, I was planning to do just that. But the moment I locked the door, a dramatic wail came from the living room. You actually locked the door? You don't trust me that much. Speechless. He's the one who told me to lock the door, and he's the one upset that I did. Is there something wrong with his head? But whatever. At least I got what I wanted, separate sleeping arrangements. After all, he doesn't have any feelings for me. And it's very likely he'll soon have a girlfriend of his own. If she found out we were still sleeping together, who knows what kind of misunderstanding that'd cause. But the most important thing now is, how do I completely separate myself from him? As long as I'm still bound to him, physical contact is unavoidable. The longer we're around each other, the more my feelings waver. So solving this problem just became more urgent than ever. But who do I turn to? Should I go find a shaman too? I ran through a list of familiar faces in my mind. Finally, my gaze landed on black and white impermanence. Since they caused this mess in the first place, the best solution would be to let them fix it. I quietly made my decision. After that, I noticed Jiang Zhui started coming home later and later, even though he always made a point to stick to me after work. But every time he came home, it was right at the maximum time I could be away from him. He was busy day in and day out, but he didn't seem tired at all. In fact, he seemed to be enjoying himself. I almost thought he'd lost his mind. But seeing how seriously he worked, I dismissed the thought. Finally, one night, I successfully summoned black and white impermanence. Two dark figures suddenly appeared in the middle of the bedroom. Even though I'd met them a few times, I still couldn't help but jump. "What do you need us for?" Black impermanence asked, his face expressionless. Beside him, white impermanence seemed a bit friendlier. At least he had some kind of expression. "What's wrong? Found life in the human world too boring and want to come work for us in the underworld?" I shook my head, deadpan. I'd have to be crazy to think that. White impermanence pouted, clearly displeased. "Then why'd you call us? We're busy. There's a ton of souls waiting to be escorted." As if I didn't know. These days, they've been using the self-check-in to the underworld method. They only step in when someone refuses to go. Okay? "This thing between me and Jiang Zhui, you guys need to fix it. If not, I'll file a complaint with your higher-ups, and then I'll bash my head in, go down to the underworld, and cause chaos until I flip the whole place upside down." When someone's pushed to their limit, they'll say anything. If this were the old me, before all this mess, who'd have thought I'd dare say something like this to black and white impermanence? Guess I'm getting bolder by the day. The two exchanged a glance. Finally, white impermanence spoke up. "Why? Aren't you almost fully recovered now? Just hold on a little longer and you'll be fine. Besides, you seem pretty happy here, don't you?" Happy my foot. I was happy before, sure, but now I just feel like I'm taking up space that doesn't belong to me. And that space taker is me. If I weren't here, maybe Jiang Zhui would have already brought someone home. Anyway, I don't care. You've got 3 days to fix this. If not, I'll bash my head in for real and go wreak havoc with the king of the underworld. White impermanence looked at me, completely exasperated. Fine, stop threatening to die all the time. We'll help you. This is our fault after all. But you have to promise. This is the last time. Finally, the weight in my heart lifted. Got it. But black and white impermanence couldn't fix the problem right away. It wasn't exactly within their authority. They could only promise to bring the king of the underworld to help me the next evening. With that, the two of them bolted. I could finally breathe a sigh of relief. But during this time, I'd have to be careful around Jiang Zhui. I couldn't let him notice anything strange, but after 2 days of observing, I realized I was overthinking, because Jiang Zhui didn't notice a thing. Every day, he was busy with who knows what, leaving early and coming back late. Thanks to him, the company gossip about us died down. A lot of people started believing the rumors from before were just a misunderstanding. I felt a bit disappointed, but this outcome wasn't bad. The next evening, I finally met the king of the underworld. The solution was actually pretty simple. In just a short while, my soul was fully stabilized. From now on, I wouldn't have to worry about my soul randomly leaving my body anymore. Little G, are you sure you don't want to try working in the underworld? The food and drinks might not be as good as the human world, but the job's pretty interesting. I was speechless, rolling my eyes in exasperation. I'm not trying to become an immortal here. What's the point of doing all that? No thanks. No thanks. Stop targeting me. I just want to live a decent life until I die. The king of the underworld shook his head regretfully and prepared to leave with black and white impermanence. But before they left, black impermanence suddenly stopped beside me. He whispered so only I could hear, "You like him, but still deny it. I really don't get you young humans." I froze. It wasn't until their figures completely disappeared that I slowly came back to my senses. I always thought black impermanence was the most emotionless one. But turns out, he's the one who saw through everything. But if humans were so easy to read, the world wouldn't have any challenges left. Because sometimes just liking someone isn't enough to solve everything. Feelings, you see, need to be mutual to work out. At first, I planned to tell Jiang Zhui straight up that I was moving out. But lately, I hadn't had the chance to talk to him. Every time I got home, he was already out. Every time he came back, I was already asleep. I couldn't find a single opportunity to bring it up. But if this kept going, I didn't know how much longer I'd have to stay. Might as well pick a time and move out first. When he comes back and sees I'm gone, he'll figure it out. The day I decided to move out, during work hours, Jiang Zhui suddenly walked into my office. I glanced at him briefly before going back to my work. "What are you here for?" "Just wanted to talk for a bit." "Not welcome?" I shot him a bored look, as if he'd leave even if I said he wasn't welcome. "You're free tonight, right? You'll head straight home after work?" I let out a cold huff. "What, I can't go home? Not like you, always out and about. How can I compare to the exciting nightlife of CEO Jiang?" Jiang Zhui paused for a second, then chuckled, sitting on the edge of my desk. He's tall. Even sitting, his feet still touched the floor. The action wasn't exactly proper, but somehow he made it look like a cover shoot for a men's fashion magazine. No wonder he attracts so much attention. You can tell at a glance he's not the serious type. "Jealous, huh?" A teasing smile tugged at his lips as he leaned closer to me. Just as he reached to ruffle my hair, I blocked his hand and moved aside. "Don't just pat my head. Keep your distance." "Whoa, Jifenglin, did you eat gunpowder or something? Why so cranky today?" Seeing how oblivious he was to the problem, I really wanted to punch him. Looking at him only made me more annoyed. Doesn't he know why I'm upset? Or maybe he really doesn't. "Nothing. Stop guessing. Go back to your office." Jiang Zhui gave me a suspicious look, but in the end, he obediently hopped off my desk. Standing in front of me like that only made him seem more intimidating. "You're acting weird. Anyway, tonight, go straight home after work. Don't wander around, got it?" I just wanted to get rid of him quickly, so I gave a half-hearted reply. "Got it, got it." Once Jiang Zhui left, I let out a sigh of relief and set the file down. The file didn't actually have anything in it. I just picked it up earlier to pretend I was busy. Damn it. He already has someone he likes. Why is he still being so touchy with me? But thinking about it, maybe he just sees me as a regular friend. With friends or brothers, actions like that aren't a big deal. It's only because my feelings have changed that I find them abnormal. Since I had to move tonight, I left work a bit early. But I didn't expect Jiang Zhui to have left long before me. My coworkers even said he took the afternoon off. I froze. He didn't mention anything about that to me. But then again, he and I don't have any special relationship. Whether he tells me or not doesn't really matter. I was the one overthinking and crossing boundaries. When I got home, sure enough, Jiang Zhui was nowhere to be seen. But I didn't think much of it. I packed my stuff and carried it downstairs. Even though I'd stayed here for a while, I didn't have much. Most of the things I used belonged to Jiang Zhui. For example, his pajamas, his towels. I didn't take any of those. But for some reason, I packed his pajamas into my luggage. He's got a cleanliness obsession. If I left them behind, he probably wouldn't wear them again anyway. Might as well take them with me. If he asks about it later, I'll just send him the money for it. It's not worth much anyway. Before leaving, I left a note saying I'd gone back to my place. It felt a bit unnecessary, but I wrote it anyway. It'd been a while since I last went home. The first thing I did when I got there was clean the whole place from top to bottom. After a busy evening, I felt uncomfortable all over. But all my pajamas were in the wash and still wet, so I ended up wearing Jiang Zhui's pajamas again. Since I was at my own house, it didn't matter what I wore. No one would care. I dropped the idea of changing into something else. I just wore them and stepped outside. Glancing at the clock, Jiang Zhui was probably home by now. But my phone, not a single message from him. Is he really that heartless? I moved out, and he doesn't even bother to ask. I set my phone down, getting ready to brush my teeth and wash my face before bed. But right then, a loud, aggressive banging came from the door. I panicked, almost calling the police. But when I looked through the peephole and saw that familiar face, I let out a sigh of relief. Jiang Zhui. My hand reached for the doorknob but hesitated. That's when I remembered I was still wearing his pajamas. It felt a bit awkward. Of course, I'd never admit I was worried he'd ask for them back. But he was banging so loudly he might wake the neighbors. With no other choice, I cracked the door open just a sliver, only showing my head. I didn't let my body show, just poked my head out. "What are you doing here?" Jiang Zhui's face was dark, his aura icy enough to freeze someone solid. What do you think I'm here for? Moving out without a word. Ji Fenglin, what am I to you? Rival, sworn enemy, brother, friend, pick whichever you like. Besides, what's wrong with me going home? I'm not allowed to. I even left you a note. Jiang Zhui's expression grew even uglier. I'd never seen him like this. Is he really that upset just because I didn't tell him? It's not that big a deal, is it? Let me in. He pushed the door, trying to step inside, but I used all my strength to block it. If he came in, wouldn't he see me wearing his clothes? I absolutely couldn't let him inside. No way! No way! Just talk from out there. It's late. Say what you need to and go home. We've got work tomorrow. Jiang Zhui clenched his jaw, his eyes full of suspicion. Are you hiding someone in there? Huh? I froze, not even reacting yet, when he suddenly shoved the door open with force and barged in. The push was so strong I nearly fell over. Jiang Zhui, are you crazy? He stormed through the house, checking every corner, even rummaging through my bedroom. Once he confirmed there was no one, he finally turned back. I crossed my arms, looking at him coldly. Find anyone yet? At that moment, he looked a little guilty. Didn't find anyone. Then why'd you assume I was hiding someone just because I wouldn't let you in? I didn't say anything more, but out of habit, my fingers fidgeted with the hem of my shirt. That unconscious action made Jiang Zhui's gaze land on me, and I watched his expression shift from anger to amusement. The smile in his eyes was impossible to hide. Then he suddenly stepped forward, the tips of his toes touching mine. The closeness made my whole body tense. I quickly stepped back 2 paces, but he kept closing in until my back hit the door. I couldn't retreat any further. Jiang Zhui raised his hand, his slender fingers brushing the hem of my shirt. He tugged at it lightly, pulling just a little. The air suddenly turned charged. Ji Fenglin, why'd you steal my pajamas? My ears turned bright red as I stammered. Steal? Didn't you give them to me to wear? If you gave them to me, they're mine. Jiang Zhui chuckled softly, his flirty eyes curving with teasing intent. I lent them to you. I never said they were a gift. Or do you have some ulterior motive with me? I glared at him. This guy, how dare he turn the tables on me? That's just too much. Who'd have an ulterior motive with you? Don't flatter yourself. Then why won't you look at me? I froze. I realized I really hadn't dared to look at him this whole time, mostly because I was afraid I'd lose control if I did, so I figured it was better not to look. I tried to stay calm, not letting my emotions show. At the very least, I couldn't let him see through me. What's it to you? Your clothes are loose and comfy. Plus, mine are still wet from the wash. Let go of me. Do you realize what you're doing right now could be called harassment? But not only did Jiang Zhui not back off, he stepped even closer. He let out a low chuckle, his voice deep and teasing. Ji Fenglin, think about it. We've done way more intimate things than this before, haven't we? But you're only calling this harassment now? Doesn't that mean I can keep doing what I did before? I was at a loss for words. When it comes to verbal sparring, I'll never beat him. Even back in school, during debate competitions, I could never win against him. Who would have thought it'd still be the same after graduation? We both fell silent, as if waiting to see who'd break first. In the end, he gave in. Why'd you suddenly move out? Are you fully recovered? Yeah, I got the king of the underworld to help me. Why'd you go to him? I found his question really strange. Who else would I go to? Were we supposed to stay bound together forever? Everyone needs their own space. Jiang Zhui's expression turned cold again, but I had no intention of comforting him this time. You still here? Jiang Zhui's lips curled into a cold smirk. Use me and toss me aside. Ji Fenglin, you're something else. Jiang Zhui left, but I didn't feel relieved at all. In fact, I felt worse than before. Letting go seemed so hard, but not letting go was even harder. Who would have thought I'd end up liking my sworn enemy one day? Or maybe I'd had these feelings for a long time and just never realized it. The second possibility seemed more likely. After all, for so many years, we'd only focused on competing. Neither of us ever thought about anything else. I couldn't really blame Jiang Zhui. I pushed aside my gloomy mood, washed my face, and went to bed. The next morning, I woke up feeling a bit out of sorts. Normally, by this time, Jiang Zhui would have already made breakfast, waiting for me to eat before driving me to work. But not today. I drove myself to the company. Then I had someone return all his stuff to his office. The whole office renovation thing was just an excuse. His workspace was perfectly fine. If we were going to separate, we needed to do it completely, in every way. Sticking together at the same company all the time, how's that keeping distance? As a result, Jiang Zhui got to the company and lost his temper. I heard he threw a fit in his office, but strangely, he didn't come looking for me. Logically, he should have. Sure enough, as long as enough time passes, you'll forget anything. From that day on, I started keeping my distance from Jiang Zhui, but he didn't seem to want that, always finding ways to ask me out. I turned him down every time. Honestly, I didn't understand him anymore. Didn't he already have someone he liked? So why did he still want to hang out with me? But thinking about it, maybe he just saw me as a friend. The one with different thoughts wasn't him. It was me. So I tried to adjust my mindset, to go back to how things were before. But it was completely useless. My heart still raced. In the end, with no other choice, I could only avoid him. Manager G, you've been acting really strange lately. After work, Jiang Zhui cornered me in the parking lot. He leaned against my car, clearly intent on forcing me to talk things out. I sighed, rubbing my forehead. But then I thought, this could be an opportunity. Maybe I could use this chance to clear everything up. Just before I could speak, he got a phone call. After answering, he gestured for me not to leave. I really wanted to just go. But thinking about it, if I left, he'd probably chase after me in his car. So I just leaned against my car, quietly watching him take the call. The call was short, but his expression wasn't great. "What's up?" Jiang Zhui gave me a deep look, speaking slowly. "I have to go on a sudden business trip. But don't think you can keep avoiding me. When I get back, I'll come straight to your door and get answers." Hearing his childish tone, I couldn't help but laugh. Only he would say something like that. But what needs to be faced still has to be faced. I wasn't too worried. I just hoped that when he heard my reason, he wouldn't be too shocked. I opened my car door and got in. "Got it. I'll wait for you to come back." While I was waiting, something unexpected happened. "Mom, I already told you. I don't want to go on blind dates." I was cooking noodles in the kitchen when my mom dropped this bombshell, and I felt exhausted. I don't know if all parents hit an age where they just love playing matchmaker. A few years ago, my mom was pretty chill. After all, it wasn't just me who was single. Jiang Zhui was too. Neither of our families pushed us. Who would have thought she'd suddenly change her mind this year? "I told you I'm not interested." "Oh, come on, just go meet them. It's almost Lunar New Year. If you click, you can bring them home to meet us." I didn't expect my parents to arrange everything without even asking me. Or, do you already have someone you like? Jiang Zhui's image flashed through my mind, but I immediately shot down my mom's guess. My parents are experienced. They might actually guess right. No way. If I liked someone, I'd have pursued them already. Just send me the info. I'll make time to meet them. My mom hung up happily, but when I looked at the contact list she sent, the smile on my face vanished. How did she find so many people? How many connections did she pull for this? Even though I didn't want to go, I'd already agreed. I couldn't back out. Since there were so many, I had to number them. I tried to meet them all before Jiang Zhui got back from his trip. Honestly, I had a little ulterior motive. What if I met someone I actually liked? Wouldn't that be perfect? Two birds, one stone. I suspected I only liked Jiang Zhui because, for so many years, he was the only one around me. I didn't even have the chance to like anyone else. So, I went for it. As a result, by the time I met the last person on the list, Jiang Zhui came back. Don't ask how I knew, because he didn't go to the company or back home. He dragged his suitcase straight to the place where I was having my blind date. I have to say, he's ridiculously good looking. Even after a long business trip, looking travel-worn and tired compared to my blind date, he still stood out way more. There was no competition. "What are you doing here?" I lowered my voice, asking Jiang Zhui. His expression was icy, almost terrifying. "Just checking out your blind date. After all, someone who's already slept with me, kissed me, can still push me aside and sneak off to a blind date. I want to see what's so great about this guy that you'd do this." His voice wasn't quiet at all. Across the table, my blind date immediately caught on. His face went through all 7 colors of the rainbow. Then he hurriedly stood up, said we weren't a match, and bolted. And this was the last person on my list. Before him, some had looks I liked, but personalities that didn't match. Others had decent personalities, but their backgrounds or appearances didn't fit. In short, none of them truly caught my eye. Jiang Zhui, what the hell do you want? He ruined my blind date, and now he's happy? I was furious, but he was just as angry. What do I want? Why'd you hide this blind date from me? You even picked the exact day I was on my business trip. You planned this, didn't you? Can I say I didn't expect things to turn out like this? But seeing his state right now, he probably wouldn't believe anything I said. Believe it or not, I didn't mean to hide it from you. You won't even try to comfort me now? Jiang Zhui grabbed me, pulling me to my feet and dragging me to the cashier. Then he kept pulling me to the parking lot. He shoved me into the car and got into the driver's seat. I felt like, in his current state, he wasn't fit to drive. But once the car started moving, I realized he was still pretty calm. At least, he drove steadily. Jiang Zhui, you don't say anything. If you do, I'm afraid I won't be able to control my emotions. Fine, let's just say it's my fault again. I shut my mouth. I watched him expertly drive back to my place. Didn't people say your enemy makes the best spouse? With how well we know each other, it's hard to say there's nothing special between us. Before I could get out of the car myself, Jiang Zhui dragged me out. His steps were hurried. I wanted to tell him to slow down, but it didn't work. He'd completely lost his cool. But thinking about it, he probably didn't have much to say. At most, he'd ask why I went on a blind date. When that happened, I'd just throw my mom under the bus. Jiang Zhui pulled me to my door and quickly punched in the code. Then he grabbed my wrist tightly, pushed me inside, and squeezed in after me. I went to turn on the lights, but as soon as I moved, he grabbed my hand. Right after, he pinned my back against the door. Jiang, Before I could finish, he silenced me with a kiss. His kiss was intense, almost ferocious, like he wanted to swallow me whole. I'd never experienced a kiss this passionate. Soon, I couldn't breathe. My limbs went weak. To avoid collapsing pathetically, I could only cling to Jiang Zhui's collar. But that only made it easier for him. It let him kiss me even deeper. I don't know how much time passed. All I know is, when the kiss ended, we were both panting like we'd just run a 2,000-meter race. Gee, Fenglin, you're really something. Jiang Zhui buried his face in the crook of my neck, his tone dripping with frustration. Who's the real jerk here? How am I the jerk? You're the one being ridiculous. We've slept together, kissed each other. We've done all sorts of intimate things. And now you go on a blind date. Don't you feel even a little guilty toward me? Hold on. Why does he sound like I'm the one who wronged him? Everything was initiated by him. And that kiss from before, wasn't that just him acting out in his sleep? And what's this about, we've slept together? Nothing even happened. He's talking like I did something awful to him. But his attitude, I suddenly realized something. It seems like his feelings for me aren't normal. After all, no enemy would kiss someone this passionately, and no enemy would get this angry over a blind date. A bold theory started forming in my mind, but I didn't dare confirm it right away. So I reached out, lightly touching Jiang Zhui's ear, testing the waters. What do you mean by that? What do you think? I took a deep breath, gritted my teeth, and asked, Jiang Zhui, do you like me? At that moment, Jiang Zhui let go of me. The room was dark, with only faint light coming through the window. I could barely make out his expression. If I didn't, would I kiss you? Last time, I was planning to confess to you. But by the time I finished everything and came back, you'd already moved out. I wanted to talk to you, but you kept avoiding me. What's that about? Jiang Zhui was talking about the day I moved out. No wonder he kept telling me to go straight home after work that day. Who would have thought? I accidentally missed it. But that day, you told that girl you didn't like me? Jiang Zhui froze for a second before reacting. You heard that? I happened to be eating at that restaurant. Don't misunderstand, I wasn't following you. Don't go accusing me. I said there was nothing shady between us. Is being in love considered shady? At the time, they were spreading rumors that we were just bed buddies. I'd never heard that rumor, but thinking about it, he probably wasn't lying. If it were true, I'd own up to it, But nothing happened between us. I'm not taking that blame. Why do I feel like Jiang Zhui sounds disappointed? The misunderstanding was cleared up, but the atmosphere turned awkward. Suddenly, Jiang Zhui hooked his finger around mine. He even swayed my hand lightly, like he was being coy. So now, we're officially dating, right? I smirked, a sly smile creeping onto my face, then let go of his hand. Why would we be dating? I never said I liked you. Sorry, but I've always seen you as a good big brother. Seeing Jiang Zui's stunned expression, I really wanted to laugh, but my rationality told me to hold it in, or I'd ruin my plan. I needed to knock his ego down a peg. But we've already kissed. That was you forcing a kiss on me. I didn't kiss you willingly, so that only proves you like me, not that I like you. Jiang Zhui leaned closer, his face inches from mine. Then kiss me. If you kiss me, we're officially together. I shoved his face away, quickly slipping out from under his arm. Then I turned on the living room lights, keeping a safe distance from him. Not happening. Go home, this conversation's over. With that, I opened the door and pushed him out. He clearly didn't expect this, getting shoved straight out the door. Once the door closed, I burst into laughter, feeling utterly satisfied. A few seconds later, my phone pinged with a message. You're laughing pretty loud in there. I couldn't be bothered to reply and went about my business. I thought he'd be down for a while. But I underestimated Jiang Zhui's resilience. Not only did he not give up, he started using the slow boil tactic. He found excuses to come to my place every day, sometimes cooking, sometimes helping with random chores. Cooking was one thing, but he'd even do it shirtless. Those gorgeous muscles right there in front of me. Even if I were a saint, I'd still react to that. Sure enough, he caught me. Grinning smugly, he said, I've never seen anyone react to their good big brother like this. Just admit you like me already. I turned my face away, not hesitating for a second. Well, now you have. Jiang Zhui was hit hard, but he still didn't give up. He kept trailing after me every day. Rumors started spreading at the company again. But this time, Jiang Zhui owned up to them. He straight up said he was pursuing me. He didn't give me any chance to react. By the time I realized, my coworkers were all looking at me with the starry-eyed gaze of romance novel fans. I was exasperated, but could only let him be, until the company went on break, and Jiang Zhui and I went back to our hometown together. On the way, he kept trying to convince me to bring him home for the Lunar New Year. Of course, I turned him down without a second thought. Why would I need to bring him home? Our families were already close. He could easily show up on his own. Sure enough. Not long after I got home, he showed up at my door. At that moment, I'd just finished listening to my mom's complaints. She was going on about how I'd been on so many blind dates and still hadn't picked anyone. I was exasperated too, mainly because the best guy was already right in front of me. No one else could compare. I just finished calming my mom down when Jiang Zhui appeared, and he didn't come empty-handed. He brought a whole suitcase. Auntie, my mom's traveling for the New Year, so there's no one at my place. Could you take me in and let me stay here for the holiday? Could my mom say no to him? Of course not. And just like that, Jiang Zhui openly and officially invaded my house. Then he took over the room right next to mine. After settling in, he asked what my mom and I had been talking about. I tried to stop her, but it was too late. What else? Her blind dates, of course. So many great guys, and she didn't like any of them. I saw Jiang Zhui's expression shift for a moment, but he quickly went back to normal, like nothing happened. Auntie, don't worry, she's about to be off the market. Huh? Because I'm pursuing her. I watched helplessly as Jiang Zhui spilled everything. From how he'd secretly liked me, to how he'd treat me once we were together. My mom couldn't stop laughing. And me, I could only sit there, helpless. I had no choice but to listen to them chat all evening. It wasn't until late that I finally got a break. I just laid down to sleep when I heard a faint sound outside my door. Right after, the door was pushed open. I came face to face with Jiang Zhui. But this guy didn't have an ounce of shame. Instead, he dove straight onto my bed, pinned me down, and started nuzzling into the crook of my neck like a baby. What nonsense did you say to my mom? I grabbed his hair, demanding answers, mostly to stop him from doing anything too wild. Humph. Don't I know what kind of person you are? Jiang Zhui chuckled softly, his lips brushing lightly against my neck, It tickled. I tried to pull away, but he held me down. Good little Lynn, just say yes to me, okay? Yes to what? Be my girlfriend. Now even Auntie knows about us. If you still don't agree, wouldn't that be a bit unreasonable? I let out a soft laugh. Honestly, I'd planned to tell my mom in a few days, but I didn't expect him to beat me to it. Oh well, saves me the trouble of bringing it up. I just really didn't want to see him looking so smug, but it seems like no matter how much I teased him, it wouldn't change anything. I relaxed my grip, letting go of his hair, and gently rubbed his ear. All right, I agree. What? I said, I agree to be your girlfriend. The next second, my answer was met with a passionate kiss. I didn't know how many nights Jiang Zhui cried when I suddenly dropped dead. I didn't know how many bold decisions he'd made in his heart. I didn't know what kept him going all this time. Maybe it was his feelings for me, maybe it was our families, or maybe it was something else entirely. But thankfully, everything was still here.